I'm someone who's always attended to the needs of others before my own. On the surface, this may seem like an admirable quality, but in the long term, it only leads to sadness, resentment, anger, and a life that's much less than what it could be. I'm just now learning how to put myself first. When I thought about what I really needed in order to have a healthy and happy life, I soon realized that anything that applied to me was going to apply to everyone. After all, we're all only human, aren't we? So here's what I came up with. Now, of course, the basics are food, shelter, and love, but it's a lot more complicated than that, isn't it? Let's take food, for instance. I grew up in the South, and I never met a deep-fried anything that I didn't love dearly. My grandmother's fried chicken is still the best thing I have ever tasted in my life. But it's not exactly health food, is it? At the beginning of the summer this year, I decided to try to eat a plant-based diet for as long as I could, just to see if I could do it and to see if I felt any different on the plant-based diet. There are many reasons to do it. Some people have moral reasons for becoming vegetarian or 100% plant-based or vegan. I wanted to see if I could do it and if it made me feel physically better, not just emotionally or there was no smugness. It worked. For whatever reason, I tend to do better on plant-based eating. I lasted about a good 3 months solid only eating plant-based food. No dairy, no eggs, no butter, no cheese. The butter and the cheese were pretty hard to give up. Those were probably the hardest, along with the eggs. And I do like good fried chicken. The first thing I noticed on a plant-based diet was that I didn't feel bloated after eating. Sometimes, before I switched to plant-based, I noticed that about a half hour or so after eating lunch or dinner, I would feel not great. The hunger pains would be gone, but then sometimes there would be a queasiness or just a general overall feeling of not being comfortable. And that was the first thing that I noticed. So I could eat my fill on a plant-based diet and a half hour later feel fantastic. The hunger pains were still gone, but there was no queasiness, there was no discomfort of any sort. The second thing I noticed was that I started to lose weight. Not drastically. I didn't have an animal protein heavy diet to begin with, but you still have to replace that with something. You still have to replace it with plant protein. And that in and of itself introduced more fiber into my diet, so I started to lose weight. The third thing that I noticed, and it was a big surprise to me, was that the quality of my sleep seemed to improve. I woke up feeling more well rested. Sometimes I was able to sleep for a longer period of time at night. I've always been a bit of an insomniac, and if I got 4 or 5 hours of uninterrupted sleep, I counted that as a win. When I switched to plant-based, I was routinely sleeping 6 or 7 hours solid without interruption and feeling much more well-rested when I woke up. And that brings us to the next thing I wanted to talk about. Good sleep. Sleep is massively important to everything, to mental health, to physical health, to your entire life. We have to have good sleep, and it's hard. So, some of the things that we can do to have a good night's sleep is hop off of our devices an hour or two before bedtime. So that means not scrolling Instagram or Facebook or checking emails or doom scrolling the news, trying to get a good night's sleep after reading about what's going on in the world is not an easy task. There have been studies that show that a bedtime routine is very important in getting a good night's sleep. The routine itself is a way of letting our brains and our body know that, hey, it's bedtime, let's start shutting everything down and going into sleep mode. Another element to a good night's sleep prior to the bedtime routine is exercise. Exercise is very important for a healthy life overall. It contributes to a longer life, a better quality life, and a better quality sleep. I'm very fortunate to live in the Rocky Mountains. Most of my exercise just consists of walking. I'll walk around the multitude of trails that we have here in town. I'll hike in the mountains, but the common denominator to both of those is walking and being around nature. If you have a gym membership and that's the only exercise you're able to do, you're doing a great thing for yourself. You're doing wonders for your body and your overall health by exercising. But if you can add being in nature to the equation, that's even better. That's better for your physical health. It's also better for your mental health. There is something about being in nature that's just so wonderful and so important to good health. There are so many ways that we as individuals can add value to our communities and the world at large. One of the ways that I contribute is by volunteering my time and efforts to a local group that's fighting to have more sustainably built, attainably priced housing built in the city I live in. Another way I add value to the world is to create. We are all creative people, and there are so many ways to be creative. Personally, I love to write, play my guitar, and make videos. Some people draw or paint. Some people build. Some people plant and maintain beautiful gardens. I believe that we're all creative people because that's just part of being human. Okay, let's talk about love. It could be friendship, romance, being well regarded in your community. These are all forms of love and they're all important. I'm fortunate to have people that love me. And I get depressed sometimes and I think, well, how could anyone love me? And I go down that hole just like everyone else does. But on the days that I'm not deep in the throes of depression, I know that people love me. I know that I'm loved. And you are loved too. Trust me. On your bad days, you may not feel like it, but believe me when I tell you, there's someone out there who loves you. And finally, the last thing that I need in order to have a healthy and happy life, the last element to my happiness, is that I make space for all of my emotions. Not just joy, not just love, not just happiness, but sadness, anger. It's okay to sit with an uncomfortable emotion and to think about why. Why do I feel sad right now? Why do I feel angry about this situation? And then, what can I do to stop feeling sad? What can I do to stop feeling angry? Sometimes, if you lose someone close to you, the sadness just requires time to go away. Anger sometimes is easy as just a few deep breaths, but it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be afraid. It's all part of being human. We acknowledge these things and then we do what we can to make them better. To understand for ourselves that they aren't the only part of our lives, that they aren't all consuming, that it's just a little piece of being human. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video did some good for you. It certainly did me a lot of good. It helps to just say these things out loud. Check the description box below for resources. Have a wonderful, safe, fulfilling week. Bye.